So Jack's going to log on to his system. And when he does, he comes to this nice welcome area. Now this can have his folders, it can hold dashboards. He can customize this pretty much to make it very unique to him. On the left-hand side, we can see different folders that are shared across the organization. He can have his own personal folders as well. And he can come here and start to look at different books of information. Now he needs to figure out what's going on. The CFO came to him and said, Jack, I need you to find out why our revenues are down and what we can do to solve this problem. So first, Jack's going to go ahead and click into the CFO's dashboard because Jack wants to see the same view that the CFO is looking at to get a baseline of what perspective the CFO is looking from. So he comes to the dashboard and he can see the gross revenue, the cost of sales. Now, all of this represents different data points, of course, but there also can be, he can switch across the dimensions. So right now, he's looking at a particular year at the budget version and gross revenue. So he's going to go ahead and click this and get the drop down and look at it from the actual perspective. Now, you'll notice that all the charts and graphs that are here changed in relationship when I selected actual. And so here he sees, oh, there's our problem. We can see here that our net profit here is 13.5 million for actual, but our budget was 40 million. He may come here and say, wait, I want to just see the variance on that. Now that doesn't look very good. In fact, that's something he needs to look into. As you can see here, he could see a regional view of this to see where are they doing better and worse. He's going to go look at the strategic plan. And this is where he can see various KPIs that drive the business. And here we can see, obviously, there's a severe problem with revenue, and in fact, revenue is forecasted to trend downward. So it's not even, it's bad, but it's trending even worse. So we got to figure out what we're going to do with this. He can also come here to sales and also confirm that information as well. So he needs to get a better view of this information. And now Jack is going to go into the operations where he can start to model the business. And what he's going to do is start to look at the various products that they have and the various revenues tied to those products. So here we have a multi-dimensional view of our data. We're looking at total company, and we can hit a drop down and look just maybe at Massachusetts. We're looking at total channels, so we're looking at all of our different distribution channels. We're looking at number of units sold by year for budget. Now we can also go here and look at actual numbers as well. But we're going to go, and he wants to really start to play with the numbers and model on how they can fix this revenue problem. So if we come here, we look at our various products going down the left-hand side, and we can expand these as well. And he can start to say, well, I think that we can get more out of a 3G 128 gig phone, and I can just come to the total. I think we can do this 10% higher than last year is what Jack thinks. So he types in INC 10 for 10%, and he hits enter. And very quickly, the numbers adjust the total year by 10%, and it allocates that increase across all of the months in proportionality. So we saw the majority of it ended up in January because that's our bigger selling season for this particular product. And he can start to play with this more. Now, when we're doing that seasonality profile, we call that breakback, and that can also be done across multiple dimensions as well to really give you some strong modeling capabilities. Now, Jack knows there's a new product coming out, and it's not yet in the plan, but he knows that it's coming. And so he might go ahead and say, I'm going to go add that new product that we have coming out. It's just about to be released. And he comes here and he types in his new product, and we'll just call this Jack's product. So you can see that we are adding this on the fly. Its parent is going to roll up to maybe our 4G smartphones. He believes that we can do 2,500 units of this. And we can change the start date if we want. We're going to say this is actually going to start in January. And I want to use a seasonality profile of another product that we had launched last year. And we think that the initial takeoff is going to be kind of the same seasonality profile. So I'm going to pick that. And so I could come here and say it's based on the 4G 16 gig. And using that kind of seasonality spread that the ramp up time that particular product had. So I'm going to go ahead and add this product. And we can see that my new product is added. It has 2,500 units. It's following the same seasonality wrap-up time that we had in our 4G 16 gig. Now, to show you that we've actually added this, we'll go back to our operations area and we will expand our 4G smartphones. And here we can see Jack's product was added on the fly. Now, of course, there's security concerns here, and only certain people, Jack is a super user, so he has the ability to add new products, but you can absolutely lock that down. And what happens here is now Jack is starting to model the revenue challenge and finding a solution, a proposed solution for the organization. Now, the ability to do this and do it very quickly is of huge benefit to Jack, and this is like planning nirvana for a business analyst, especially millennials who definitely want to spend more time analyzing the data and less time data chasing. What we're finding is millennials, how many of you guys have millennials on your team? Okay, they're unique, okay? They like to be very engaged. They like their voice to be heard. They will find a more efficient way to do something because they were born in a time where there's massive improvements in how things are handled. If you are not kind of catering to that need that they have, they will get frustrated and oftentimes leave. We have a number of clients that come to us and say, I don't get it, we keep having millennials leave. And I'm like, you're not engaging them more. By the way, by 2020, 3/4 of the working population will be millennials. If you want more information on this, on our website, I actually have a video that's all about dealing with millennials. There's one on finance and one in IT that talks about what you can do to be more millennial friendly. One of the things that we do in our organization is on Fridays, we have them do a checkpoint with their manager, and they have to give, what they do is they come up with a couple items that they're going to work on in the next week. So they might say, you know what, this week I'm going to really work on active listening. It could be anything. It could be, I'm going to work on going to the gym every day this week. Why? Because the more active you are, the more highly productive you're going to be. So it can be really anything they want. Maybe I want to learn to work on saying no this week. Whatever they do, they write it down and they say, okay, these are the things I'm going to work on for the next week. A week goes by, they meet with their managers and they score themselves 0 to 10 on how they did. Now, some weeks they get a 0. They're like, I didn't do it at all. It was totally off my radar. But what it's doing is, it's getting constant feedback of what they're working on. And it's quick. The call is a couple minutes long, right? How'd you score yourself? What could you have done differently? What do you work on next week? It gives them that constant feedback that millennials crave. And more importantly, it also lets the manager say, you know, I think with Zach, at one time I said, you know, Zach, I know what was a calendar issue or something that we talked about? And I said, you know, what could you do I've noticed certain challenges on your calendar. Do you think you could create something to work on that? And he goes, yeah, absolutely. And then he calls someone, Serena in our organization, who is like uber organized. Like if there's a better process, Serena will come up with it. So he calls and meets with Serena, and she teaches them a couple things he could do in Outlook. And it was like, boom, problem solved. So as a manager, you could have the opportunity to kind of target certain things that they need to work on. But that 0 to 10 thing works like a charm, constant feedback. We actually do it in an online smart sheet that they can rank and say what they're working on. But so those work. So the other thing I'm going to teach you is we said that time is the most valuable asset that we have. We can't get it back. How many of you have too much time in your day? No hands. Okay. So this technique was game changing for me, and it's super simple. It's called time blocking. Here's how it works. You simply figure out a task that you're going to do. You say, oh, I think this is going to take me a half hour. You set your phone for a half hour. You turn your out of office on. You turn your internet off, and you focus
on doing that task. Now this seems really simple, right? But how many of you do it? You do. Excellent. Not many people do. Now here's the trick to it. The timer is the secret. How many of you have been in meetings where you come out of the meeting and nothing was accomplished? You're like, that was a 4-minute meeting and nothing got accomplished. So I'm going to show you our little fun video that we created.
The reason the timer is so important is kind of like an analogy of cleaning your house. If you know you have all day to clean your house on Saturday, how long do you take to clean the house? All day Saturday, and maybe even Sunday too. Come on, admit it. There's been weekends where you planned to clean the whole house and you ended up sleeping on the couch, and then you ended up playing with the dog, and before you know it, it's already 5 o'clock. But if you have friends on their way over to your house and they'll be there in an hour, it is amazing how much you can get done in an hour.
So time blocking, how many of you guys have had that happen? Get the text message? It's like, oh, you could totally clean your house. It's amazing. Now the dog's like, oh, he's like cowering in the corner, like, watch out, mom's on a rampage, right? But this is the trick with our teams. We're giving them too much time. We just have to say, hey guys, we have an hour-long meeting. I want to be out of here in 50 minutes, so I give you the time lottery back. People love that, by the way. Set the meeting for an hour, get it done in 50 minutes. So they can go to the bathroom, they're more relaxed, right? They will leave your meeting in a positive note. Here's what you do with that. You say, guys, here's what we have to get through today. Here's our expectations. Set the expectations up front. And by the way, we're going to set a timer, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a sticky note exercise, for example. And so we might have a problem. Oops. I'm going to skip this one for now. And we might say, you know, guys, we're going to do a brainstorming session. I want to get people just to explore and step out and beyond. And I want you guys to look at how could our organization use data? And I'm going to challenge you guys. So you might have a room of people, right? You give them all sticky notes. By the way, super sticky. If you buy Post-it note, super sticky on the back. Because what's going to happen is going to put them on a wall or a flip chart. You're going to go to lunch. And what's going to happen if you're not super sticky? They're on the floor. Get the good ones. So you're going to say, let's just think about brainstorming questions. I oftentimes will give the target example, or I might give the leukemia example. Go find other examples. There's millions of them on the internet about companies that have leveraged data in a way that really add a lot of value. So I'm going to challenge you guys, how could we use data to sell more goods? So if you're in sales, what information do you need that you don't have today? Maybe it's like if I'm selling beverages, maybe it's demographic data of what's happening in certain regions. Why? Because if the demographics is population is growing, I'm going to sell more pop, right? I might say or maybe it's around decreasing costs. I typically find that you get your biggest wins off increasing sales versus decreasing costs, right? Decreasing costs oftentimes are what I call one-hit wonder. Okay? It doesn't have quite the recurring and the growth factor that revenue does. Or decrease production time. What could we do? And start allowing creative, crazy ideas. And here's the thing. I tell people, celebrate the crazy ideas. Like the crazy idea. Well, if we had these little robots that did this and this, right? If I'm an airline, I might say, how could we have a better experience with the customers so more of them come to our airline? By the way, according to the latest news I just saw this morning, United could use a little bit of this, right? So I personally, if I was sitting there doing the Post-it note exercise, I'd come up with, like, I want to rate my seatmate. So you know how in Uber, you rate your driver and the driver rates you? I want to rate the person sitting next to me in that airplane seat. And that guy or gal that's taking up my room and theirs is going to get a 1. And I want to go, when I log in to select my seat, I want to see what everyone's score is. Because I want to sit by the 5 person and not the 1 person. Would that increase my customer loyalty to my airline? Heck yes. Because I've been on way too many flights where some person thinks my seat is theirs. Like, creative ideas are fun, right? So you do this time blocking. You're like, so here's some ideas that we want. If you're a law firm, maybe you're doing realization rates, right? Which is how much money do they actually collect when they bill? Because they don't get everything they bill, right? Because clients are like, I'm not paying you. So maybe that's it. So get creative ideas on how you could do this. And let's just set a timer and just put one idea on a Post-it note, ready, set, go. And we time it. And it's like, remember in 4th grade when you took that math test and you tried to be the first one done? Come on, you guys all did it. And then we threw our pencil down really loudly so everyone knew we were first. I don't know about you, but I went to school in St. Charles, and they gave you the exact same tests every time. Like if it was an addition, it was the exact same, like what are they, the funny smelling copies. And I have somewhat of a photographic memory, so I just memorized it all. So it took me seconds to do it. Kind of cheating maybe, but get those creative ideas out, right? And do it in time. Say, hey, we have 10 minutes for this, ready, set, go. And then what you do is you group people in pairs. If you have a big group, you can do pairs or groups. And you say, guys, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to go through all the ideas that you have and eliminate the duplicates. If you come up with new ones, add them. Ready, set, go. And now they shrunk them down, the ideas, right? And they're a refined list. And now we're going to have you guys present these ideas. And we're going to kind of put them in order, and we'll say, this is a phenomenal idea. This is crazy, but hey, we're going to put it on the back burner. So you don't kill any ideas. They're somewhere on the spectrum. But what you're going to find is someone's going to come up with an idea that you never even thought of. And by the way, that's going to be your moneymaker. So you're going to start to have people, again, timing every part of this. Guys, we have 15 minutes to go through this list, and we got to prioritize these. We're not going to debate them. Let's all vote. And there's different ways you can do it. You can have people score this idea 0 to 10. You can just do a show of hands. Sometimes we use stickers to say, okay, everyone go, like here's all our ideas. Go take 3 stickers and put them on the top 3 ideas that you think we have. Very fast way to funnel them down. Because what you'll see is people gravitate towards maybe a group of 4 or 5 ideas. But literally, in a very short period of time, you've gotten people, 1, to feel like they're engaged and involved and their voice matters. You want end user adoption? Get their opinions. Get their feedback. Even if you know some of them are like, crazy. Like, okay, but they feel like a part of the team. When people feel like they're part of the team, they will never disparage it. They'll be like, how can we make it better? They will help you instead of undermine you. Does anyone have any toxic people in their organization? You know, the people that are just always Debbie Downer or Don Downer, like they're just, you know, they walk into your office and it just gets heavy, right? Now, you can't really, sometimes that's their personality, but what I found is when they actually are heard, you kind of have to control that because sometimes they keep going and going and going and you're like, oh, right? But again, hey, I have 5 minutes. I'd love to hear your thoughts. But stick to that 5 minutes. Don't give them 15. You got to be firm with that time zone. When you start running your meetings, like they're going to start on time, they're going to end on time, and by the way, we're going to get this done, people will actually conform. They'll start showing up on time. How many of you guys waste a ton of time because people are always late? The meeting doesn't even get started for 15 minutes. You just wasted 15 minutes of everyone in that room. So getting that discipline. So here's a kind of I love these what-if exercises. Sometimes you can do these virtually. They're better done together as groups, and you get people collaborating. I oftentimes will mix the groups. The groups can't be like a group of IT people, a group of finance people, a group of marketing. They have to be intermingled. So one of the things that I like to do is having this brainstorming session. Like, refer to the questions. I have a handout that I'll give you. When you do this brainstorming session, in fact, I'll give this to you guys right now. here are some ideas on how you narrow those down. So what we do is we do the brainstorming, and then we ask people, why are you asking this question? Why is your most powerful question, right? Because I need to understand what you're trying to get to. Who would benefit from having this information? How frequently would you like this information? What actions will be taken as a result? If, by the way, it's just showing the weather, probably not the best thing on your dashboard, right? We want all of the items to be actionable. What is the next question you would like to ask after seeing the results? Starting to get them to think further down the road. Not, I just want this added. I need this gross margin column added. No. When you see that, what are you going to do next? Well, I'm going to go look at, if it's an outline or if you have a problem with it, what are you going to do? Who are you going to call? What report are you going to look at? I want to know your thought pattern. You have very smart people in your firms, and they have a lot of just gut feel, and you're trying to get gut feel out and into a system so other people can benefit from that. Then you're also going to look at feasibility. Do we have the data? How long would it take to get this data? Could we pump it into a little data mart for short term? Is the business ready for change? Is this business area? You have some areas of your organization that are very slow to adapt technology. Probably not who you want to start with. You want to win. You want quick, fast wins. Fast failures, fast wins. How does the business and IT work together? What are the areas and bandwidth? So when we have all these ideas, we're then going to start to kind of plot these. And if you turn to the next page, there's kind of a scale there. And it's really simple. And you can literally draw this on a whiteboard and say, hey, here's this idea. What's the impact to the organization? How does it make or save us money, right? And then what are the risk factors? And we kind of went through some of those, do they embrace technology? Do we have the data? And you want those that have high reward to the organization and low risk. Pretty simple, right? But sometimes people just need to visualize it. Somebody might have this one thing that they really, really want, but when you start to spell out to them what the cost to put that together would be, and that there was very little benefit to the organization, it was a benefit to them, then they realize, oh, wait, I'm here for the greater good. I need to help the company meet the strategic goals that you told me about when we started the meeting. By just me getting what I want, and by the way, those people tend to be the more vocal people in your organization, and people deliver to them because the squeaky wheel gets oil. You want to change that culture. You want the best idea for the company. So start to use these grids. I forgot to tell you, the thing I handed out earlier, the Business Intelligence Action Assessment Indicator, if you read through that, there's 10 questions there, super simple. And those 10 questions, what they are thought-provoking questions for your executives. So we divide business intelligence to people, process, tools, and data. So these are just asking questions, where does your company sit today? I recommend that you take this, print it out, give it to all the executives, and say, honestly, fill this out. Just give it a score, 0 to 10. Okay? Our executives not only support BI initiatives, they clearly and regularly communicate the strategic goals of the organization. Most people score pretty low on that one, right? Our BI team is highly successful in facilitation of data requirements discovery sessions that result in clear understanding of the business needs. Most companies score low there. So what you do is you have everyone fill them out to get an honest view. And then when you average it, you start to say, okay, where are our biggest gaps? Like, is it around data? Is it around tools? Is it around process? And let's start there. Your goal is not to go from 2 to 10. Your goal is to move up one number in the areas that you score the least, right? This is a process that takes time. But running workshops are the secret to doing this. So this is always a really, if you want to get more executives to realize they have to be actively engaged, give them this. If you don't like the questions, make new ones. But it's a process that you can use that will make them realize that, oh, wait, maybe we need to empower and train our BI team to be facilitators. Pick a few people that we send them to training and get them skilled in requirements discovery. What will that could have a huge impact and could take 1 week's worth of time, right? Or maybe we need to get our roadmap to define what we want and how we want to use data. Maybe we need a data warehouse. Maybe we get no data. Right? So you'll start to have those discussions. Your goal, again, we're not just jumping from a low score to the highest. We're just going for incremental improvements. Any questions on this? Do you guys think you could do some of these brainstorming sessions?
I think that not in a typical day-to-day meeting and setting, but I do think that because our company offers lunch and learns, that we could probably incorporate something like that there.
Yep.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, lunch and learns are excellent. Bring in pizza. But it was just on the news today, I don't know if you guys saw it, that pizza is a bigger motivator than money, which is really funny because I've always thought that bribing people with pizza is phenomenal. So just say, we're going to have a lunch and learn. We're going to pay to have some pizzas brought in. Guys, come. We want to hear your thoughts. We want to hear your voice. You guys have some great ideas. I want to hear them. And by the way, teaching your teams also to give credit where credit is due is really important. Like, oh, let me give you this awesome idea to do da-da-da. Suddenly she's like, oh. Do you guys know why I had you say your proudest moment? Have you ever done that when you introduce yourself? Probably not, right? I'm messing with your brain chemicals, by the way. When I have someone else introduce you and share your proudest moment, you're like, yeah, I rock. You don't realize it, but I'm literally changing your brain chemistry so that you're in a better state. You can't help it. When I tell, hey, Al's proudest moment is this, then he's proud. If I asked Al to share his proudest moment, it would not have the same effect. Because people don't like to brag about themselves, at least not in our culture. Right? But by having Libby give that information, he's like, I rock. Randy's like, my kids went to college and they're done. More importantly, what he's really saying is, no more college bills. But so start to use some of those techniques to get people excited about your meetings. Okay, so what attributes do you think a rock star should have in business intelligence? Can you guys think of some? Think of the person that you've worked with that was just like awesome. They did discovery, they connected with their end users. What attributes do they have?
He was a listener.
Listener, big, right? What else?
Strategic, had the company's best interest in mind.
They probably knew the strategic goals, right? They asked. They had the courage to go to an executive and say, where are we going? Right? What else? Organized. Okay.
Understanding the business.
Understanding the business and the desire to learn it, right? Because I've met people that didn't know the business but just asked all the right questions, listened, and learned really quickly. By the way, what do you think I'd put on the job descriptions?
Good communicator.
Good communicator. And what's that mean, right? Good communicator to a technology person means something different than a good communicator or an end user, right? So I'm a big believer in core values. And this is an exercise we implemented about 5 years ago in our company, is we read a book, Traction, How to Get a Grip on Your Business. It's an entrepreneurial operations system book that one of our clients who had gone through bankruptcy, popped out of bankruptcy, and now we're implementing BI solutions. They had implemented this methodology, and they said, Heather, we need you guys to read this book before you work with us so you understand what we're doing. So we read the book, and we were floored how awesome it was, because it's about putting the right butts in the right seats. Okay? So one of the exercises in it is to define your core values. What is it? What attributes or characteristics do people on your team have to have? And so a great way to do this is just to write down, like you guys started to do, active listener. So as you go through this and you create a list, and we did the sticky note exercise, everyone came up with a really long list, and then we started to prioritize them, which are absolutely like non-negotiables. Like if you don't have these 5, you can go 3 to 7 really, attributes, then you don't belong on our team. Okay? What we found when we did this is we realized that accountability, someone that says, I screwed up, and can someone else help me fix it, or this is how I'm going to fix it, was key ingredient. As consultants, you can imagine you don't like the surprises, and the people that don't tell you early on that they think things are going wrong are going to blow up in your face. And that's true in almost every organization, right? Perseverance was one we came up with. Someone that says, I have no clue how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to go talk to people, I'm going to learn, I'm going to research, I'm going to Google, I'm going to figure it out. Those are people that would succeed in our organization. Okay? So we started to create this list, and what we found is we had some of the wrong people on our team. And we actually got rid of them. And all of a sudden, you would have thought our productivity would go down because we lost heads. It went skyrocketing. Everyone was like, now we feel like we don't have this luggage that we're carrying around that we don't need to be carrying around. But what I'm finding is that very few organizations do this, and if you don't do it as a main organization, do it in your departments. Define what are the core values. And I'm not talking SQL skills, right? I'm talking about core values. I don't think these are things that really change. I think these are things your mother taught you or your father taught you as you were raised, right? If you haven't read the book Grit, phenomenal book. Grit is about the fact that you honor the struggle and the journey as opposed to the end result. So they've shown that kids that succeed more are those that are taught to honor the journey. And instead of saying, you're the smartest kid in school, you say, you worked really hard and I'm proud of you. Completely different dynamic, and it's great in the workplace. For those of you that aren't reading, I'm an avid book reader. Those of you that don't have time, one, Audible should be on your phone, and you should be listening in your commute. Number two, there's a guy named Brian Johnson. He has a thing called Philosopher Notes. He does little 15-minute videos of all the greatest books out there, like Grit, Mindset, The New Psychology of Success should be required reading or listening. I'd be happy to give you a book list. So we went through and we narrowed these down, and I'm going to give you another little handout that are some sample core values. And then what we did with those core values is once we narrowed them down, and this kind of walks you through, this document will kind of walk you through it to say, okay, create this list the attributes. Here's a great way to validate that list once you think you have it narrowed down. Look at the people you've had to fire over the last 2 years and go assess on a scale of 0 to 10 how they fit in your core values. You will almost always find that they are extremely deficient in at least one of your core values. And that's why they cause the problem. They may be the best technologists in the world, and they may not have your core values, and they will constantly cause friction in your team. Have you guys ever worked at a company or been on a sports team where you walk in and it just has that energy level, that vibe that everyone's like, yeah, I love work, and what are we going to create today? That's the culture you want to create. If you create your core list of values and you have people on the team that don't have those same values, you will not create that culture. There will always be friction. Now here's the trick though. When you hire people and you build your team, or you find your special forces as I call it, they need to have those core values. And there's another great book called Hiring for Attitude. If you are looking to build a team, that should be required reading as well. And what that book does is I don't think they call it core values. I think he called it something else in that book, but the concepts are the same. He teaches you the art of asking the right interview questions. Most of us ask leading questions. That's where the law comes in. We will say, Randy, give me an example of when you were asked to do something, you didn't have the skills, but you persevered and were able to do it. We just led him to the answer we wanted. But we do it all the time. We have to learn to shut up earlier and just say, give me an example where you set up to do something you didn't have the skills. Now, the answers may often surprise you. They could go down a completely different path because I didn't lead him to saying, show me how you succeeded. He may go, well, I quit the job and I left. Okay, you don't have perseverance. You're probably not going to fit on my team. I had one guy, I asked an interview question, like, what do you see yourself in 3 years? His answer floored me. Now, I was interviewing him for a position that I would spend at least a year training him and a lot of money. And, you know, I needed him to be in that position for a couple of years at least and then advance. His answer was, I'm going to be selling multi-million-dollar homes. I said, end of interview. What he saw himself doing was not something he just wanted a job. I wasn't looking to pay for that. So it's amazing how you can do this. So I really encourage you guys, if you're building teams or work with the HR department, to start to make sure you're interviewing properly. Here are some really interesting examples. So this is literally one I took off of the internet. This was a BI, Business Intelligence Manager. And we are seeking manager business intelligence candidates that meet the following requirements. Bachelor's in business, stat, mathematics, marketing, analytics, economics, or related fields. Geeky person, right? 3+ years working with as a data analyst or minimum of quantitative analytics experience. Really geek. Plus, if you've got experience working in marketing analytics, prefer candidates with agency experience, Excel, SQL, database design, quantitative. I love the must be client-facing and have a strong record of managing client relationships. Do you think the above describes this person? Not at all, right? But this was the only line that talked about kind of the softer skills. But we've discussed today that the softer skills are the key, right? But yet all of our job posts, here's another one. Oh, I love this. Proficient in analytic tools like R, SAS, eViews, and have a good understanding of stats and algorithms. Here's another one, business analyst. They're looking for ETL, Microsoft BI Stack, SSRS, SSIS, SSAS, you know, technical. Okay, think of your rock stars. Think of somebody that was awesome. Would they respond to this ad? Would you respond to this ad? Assuming you had all these skills. This company doesn't care about my growth. They don't care about me making a difference in the world. They want me to sit in a cubicle and do data analytics, but not really interact with people. I love this. Excellent oral and written communication skills. Like, who's going to say, I have sucky ones? Right? Everyone thinks they're great. This is the best, though. Courtesy, tact, and diplomacy are essential elements of the job. Work involves much personal contact with others outside or inside the organization for purposes of giving or obtaining information, building relationships, or soliciting cooperation. Because I don't know about you, but every guy or gal that knows SSIS and SAS and all of those are exactly what they have. Okay? We're setting ourselves up for failure. I think I have one more handout for you guys. I do. So here, I am giving you a little sample. This isn't by any way complete. In fact, if I were doing this, I would take this, I would define my core values first, and then I would augment this a little bit with a little bit of the core values, but I wouldn't go so far as to tell them what my core values are. Why? Because I wanted that to evolve. I don't want them to have canned answers. The hiring for attitude books and the handouts I gave you kind of teaches you how to form those interview questions to find out if someone responds the way you want them to. Okay, so in the job description, I don't want to make it so they know what I'm going to ask. But at the same time, if you read this job description, it has, looking for an organization where you can make a difference. Do you think I'm calling out to the rock stars? Because every rock star I know, that's their key thing. They want to make a difference. They want interesting, exciting work. They don't want to sit behind a computer and just do scripting. Do you feel you are in a rut and want an opportunity with an organization that will continue to invest in you? This is attracting the data analysts or the people that want a growth-oriented company that believes in data and analytics. Are you an expert in Excel, Access, or SQL with exposure to reporting and dashboards? Do you work as a subject matter expert in IT and loves discovering new ways to automate your job by creating macros and other automation techniques? Almost every rock star I've ever met loves automation because they're freeing themselves up with time to do the cool work, right? So we realized what we were looking for and started to write this up. And what happens is now you get not the person, that introverted person that can't communicate, you get the people you're really trying to attract. But most job descriptions are not written like this. So take this, give it to your HR department and say, hey, can we talk about how we can attract the talent and not people that check boxes in certifications? A highly intelligent, lifelong learner can learn the certification stuff, right? Even if they had no technology background at all, as long as they had a baseline aptitude, they can learn it and they'll gobble it up. They're like, oh, I have to get that certification so I can do this? Okay, I'll work all night and weekend. I'll study that. I'll get that checkbox off. That's not what I really want to do. I want to do the cool stuff. Do you guys agree? How many of you feel your companies might not be attracting the right people with their job descriptions? Possibly, right? I don't know about you guys, but the cost, let's go to ROI. What does it cost to hire someone? You have all the interview time. You have the recruiter fees that you pay, because you never figure out that they're not going to work in 90 days, right? So you end up paying that recruiter fee. And then all the time to get that person up to speed on your business and everything, and all the people that help that person, only to realize 6 months later they're not working out. The cost of a mishire can be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, easily. But yet people aren't stopping to do the groundwork, the core value, what belongs on our team. Now, are skills important? Yeah. But again, if I get the right person, he or she can learn like that. I've had people on my team that literally will be like, I'm going to learn all of Cognos BI in the weekend. And they just hunker down, and it's amazing what they learn. They're like the human sponge, right? And then I've had people that take forever, and I'm shocked by it, right? I was like, oh, that was a mishire. So this will transform your company. What is it? Telecommuting. Well, that too. This is a Zach. This is a millennial, okay? They are completely different than us. They were raised in a time that's different than us, and you guys have to acknowledge that. We talked about earlier how you can, at least give them the constant feedback that they need. That is really essential to every millennial I interviewed. And by the way, if you're challenged by this millennial generation, you are not alone. I've talked to tons of CFOs, CEOs, and they're all challenged by this, okay? But they are going to be the majority of our workforce by 2020. Well, they almost are by a single generation now. But they're also going to be your consumers. So if you don't take the time to figure them out, you're going to be behind the 8 ball. So you gotta kind of think about this as you're hiring. Let's talk about requirements discovery. And we're going to go very fast on this. We have a whole course on this. Active listening we talked about is absolutely key. Teaching people the art of facilitation and the sticky notes. How many of you use Agile or Scrum methodologies? Okay, good, excellent. How many of you don't know what that is? Which is totally fine answer. Agile and Scrum should be something that's on your radar to investigate. I'm a big proponent. I am a certified Scrum Master. Everybody in our company has to go through, even our admins have to become certified Scrum Masters to understand the process. And what it does is, one, it teaches you how to do projects with better communication. Typically, it's about a 4-week sprint, 4 to 6 weeks. And what I love about it is, if you take nothing else from understanding Scrum and Agile, take the fact that you do daily stand-up calls. So let's say you're running a project and you do a quick call and they say, what did I do yesterday? What am I working on today? And what are my hurdles? If you just implement that in your teams, you'll be amazed what happens. We've had times when we're doing a market event and someone's like, well, I'm doing this today. And someone's like, why are you doing that? I already have it done. That person would have been remote somewhere else in the country, wasting an entire day doing something that someone said, I have that 90% done. I'll send it to you. Why don't you just tweak what I did last time? Boom, problem solved. Okay. So definitely look into that. Presence, 100% presence. When we do our requirements discovery sessions and we set the timer and everything, we tell people to check their cell phones. Put them to the side. We say, we need you 100% present, and we'll give you a break when you need it, so that everyone's all in. It's kind of a form of respect. You will crank through work and these requirements discovery sessions so much faster if everyone's present. Getting buy-in and end user and funding. So what we do with the sticky notes, and this is where MacGyver kind of comes into play, and this is actually people in one of our workshops doing these exercises. So what happens is you prioritize all these ideas and you go through the analysis of what is going to make or save the company money. Most IT people are not wired to think this way. Most finance people automatically think this way. So you have to educate the IT people on why we think this way. They don't realize that when their projects are getting turned down for funding, it's not because the projects don't add value to the company. It's that they haven't communicated the value that they add, and that the addition of that particular project is not bringing enough value to merit the resources. So sometimes it's just a communication issue. Okay? So what we want to do is go and kind of chart it like we showed before. And here's the thing, the paper mock-ups, I said this earlier, don't develop in software, develop in paper. And you'll see here we have someone that's literally starting to draw some ideas. You don't think that she spent hours developing this in software and getting the data right, right? You're like, she's just sketching out some ideas. So you're more likely to say, by the way, that idea sucks. But could you do this instead? We'll figure out the data part of it later. The data is very important, but we need to get a thought pattern of what they want in their mind, and then we can go try and solve the data problem. Sometimes we will come to the situation where, for that problem, we don't have an answer right now. We're not even collecting that data. But you know what? You brought up a great point, and we're going to put that on the radar, and we're going to figure out how we can start collecting that. Maybe in a year, we can start to give that to you. At least their voice is heard. So we present on paper. We actually do this even when we're fully presenting an idea. Because what happens when you have data in a dashboard, and you're like, this is fake data, this is just a mock-up. So, is that data right? Yeah. You're like, stop looking at the data. On paper, do they look at the data? No, because it's something you drew. It changes the dynamic. It's like paper dolls. So the MacGyver approach. The MacGyver approach is you're going to take all these ideas, and then as an organization or as a team, you're going to identify, whoops, I almost screwed up my little mic there. You're going to identify which idea, you're going to narrow it down to maybe 2 or 3 ideas that have the most viability, that will bring the biggest bang for the company, that have the resources, we showed the little grid, biggest opportunity for the organization, least amount of risk, that you can do in a shorter period of time. Executives need to see quick wins. They do not have the attention span for 3 to 5 year engagements before delivery. So stop making it perfect. Stop worrying about the perfect enterprise data warehouse and MacGyver this stuff. And get a quick win and set the expectation. This is MacGyver. We're going to throw together a SQL data mart that's not going to be fully, we're going to need time to build it out. But what we're going to do is we're going to solve this one problem for you and see where that takes you. Because once you solve that problem, they're going to give you 10 more problems, And now we can start to figure out how we end up building our true enterprise data warehouse. It's the precursor for the data warehouse team to do it right. Because even as I go back and interview all these enterprise data warehouse team members, they're not that good in discovery. They're gatherers. They do a lot of assumptions. And you know the saying about assumptions, right? Makes an ass out of you and me. But we fill in the gaps because the business users aren't telling us. And as technology people, we think that's all we can do. But we can break that cycle. It's communication. So MacGyver is about minimal viable product. And that is setting expectations. It's not going to be fully baked. You guys are going to test as we go. And we're going to give you short wins. And then we're going to keep going from there. And I like to say you build a team of special forces. Now that special forces team is going to change based on what the deliverable is. If I'm doing a marketing problem, I'm going to have a couple marketing people, a couple IT people, and I always like finance in there because I want to know how it's making me money. Right? So get those people in there. And then once that problem's solved, you could be solving a finance problem at the same time, saying, hey, we need a better costing model because these tariffs and cost of aluminum keep changing our business model. And so you can have these special forces teams that kind of work together. Now, special forces teams, I like to get the whole group, teach them kind of how we're going to go about the business intelligence bullseye framework. And then I like the teams to kind of self-form using Scrum methods. People know who the rock stars are. Just like, remember when, like, if you wanted to win the city championship in football or soccer or whatever you were, you knew what players you wanted on the field, even if you weren't one of them. You're like, I know who we need on the team. By the way, your teams do too, right? But we don't always structure it that way. It has to come from the top to say, executives have to say, our superstars are going to be on this team, not the intern. So many times IT goes to ask marketing for a resource that could help them explain this stuff, and they give them the freaking intern. I don't want the intern. They don't know anything. I want your superstar so I can deliver superstar results. But that has to come from the top. By the way, anything I call these things, like MacGyver stuff, you guys can use this stuff. These are gifts and stories that I'm trying to give to you to communicate this to your teams. If you're not familiar with Agile and Sprint, basically Agile versus Waterfall. Waterfall is the typical IT methodology for, let's say, developing software. You get the detailed requirements gathering. You pretend to think that you know what they want. You go away for 6 months to a year. You come back and say, here's your product. By then, the business model has changed. What they want has changed. And you delivered something they won't use. Whereas these sprints are, sometimes they're going to go in the wrong direction. But we're going to learn something from that. And the end result is going to be something they love, they believe is theirs. If they're engaged, they're part of it, half your battle's done. If you're not familiar with this, oh, and by the way, you always have to celebrate. How many of you guys celebrate at the end of a project? Try doing this. Just applaud everyone. Take one person that really stepped up and give them a little plaque or a funny award. This will keep your teams going forever if they get celebrated. But we go, oh, project done, let's hit the next project. And it can be really simple. It can be a quick pizza party. It can be everyone meet for drinks after work. So to learn more about Scrum, check out Jeff Sutherland. He is one of the fathers of Scrum and Agile methodologies. He's out of Boston, fabulous guy. Don't know who he is, don't have time to read his book. Check out his TED Talk. He's a little TED Talk on Scrum. I will tell you he's not the most dynamic speaker in the world, but his point definitely gets across. I actually got certified by him as a Scrum Master. If you guys really want to learn about this, consider getting some of your team certified in Scrum. They have classes all over the country. You might want to do your research. We had some people go to one in Tampa, was not that good. I went to the one in Boston with Jeff Sutherland. I'm a big believer. I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn from the best. So that's just my methodologies. But he has 2 great books. The art of doing twice the work in half the time is where I'd start. You can get that on Audible. It will give you a good overview of Scrum. And then when you actually want to start doing this, The Power of Scrum is a great book that it's more of a story, a parable that walks you through the process. So great books to give your teams as well. So hopefully, we've started to show you guys that by leveraging business intelligence, we can increase your market and you can definitely increase your profit and definitely dominate your markets. You have to convert this into ROI. You have to MacGyver things, get quick wins. Executives will get frustrated otherwise. Right? Why? Because the market gets frustrated. We are moving at super fast pace. The bottom line to this, though, is got to have that culture shift. The culture shift will be based on the people. People is core values and embracing failure. If you just start there with defining your core values and then explain to everyone on your team, guys, going forward, this is what we, do it as a process, get people involved, and then say, hey, these are our core values. We all strive because people can change if they want to. You may find, though, that there's people on your team that don't belong there. Do you know how you get rid of those people? This is my little secret sauce. Do you guys ever have someone that you just doesn't fit in the organization, but they've been there for 30 years? And you're like, how do we get rid of her or him? Here's the trick. Firing them can be very difficult, very painful. You call a recruiter. And you don't call a recruiter for you call for them. And you go, Betty Lou, confidentially, I think Betty Lou's looking. Betty Lou's really skilled in blah, blah, blah. And you're honest. But keep my name quiet. I want it confidential. I don't want Betty. I just heard that she's starting to explore opportunities. And guess what? The recruiter calls Betty Lou. And Betty Lou's like, the recruiters are calling me. I'm so in demand. And eventually, she will leave. And guess what? Do you feel bad? Heck no, because Betty Lou probably is making more money and an environment that's better suited for her. And you will watch the entire morale of the company go, whoo. And you don't have to feel bad at all. So call the recruiters. And actually, I had a client, they didn't believe me, and then they did it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that works like a freaking charm. I guess it does. So hopefully, if you took nothing away from today, you learned that executives need to transform to become analytic leaders. Do you guys now see the value of that? Of getting them to just understand their role. It doesn't have to take a lot of their time. They have to share their vision, the strategic goals, and do regular checkpoints. Sometimes people will have us come in to facilitate these, and then they don't do it again. And 3 years later, they're wondering why they're kind of back where they were before, but just a little better. Your business changed. Keep it going. Okay? You have to have that executive support at the highest level to make transformational change. You can start it in a department. I've seen this happen where a department says, we're going to have these core values, and then what we're going to do. And everyone's like, what's happening over there? Everyone's having fun over there. They're loving what they're doing. And then it kind of starts to take off within the organization. We see that with Scrum, too, is a department will start to use Scrum, and then slowly but surely it ends up everywhere in the organization, in marketing and HR, everywhere. Time blocking. Do you guys think you can time block? Try it on one thing that you really want to get done. Try it in a meeting. Say, hey guys, we're going to try and brainstorm for 15 minutes. Ready, set, go. Set that alarm. Sticky notes. If you don't have massive amounts of these, start ordering them. What's the rule? Super sticky. Or they end up on the floor. And don't put them on the wall. Like we could do the sticky note exercise here and put it on the wall. But then if we get kicked out of this room, we just lost our work. So take they make the flip charts that are super sticky too. So they're like a humongous post-it note. Put those on the wall and then put your stickies on there and you can roll it up and you can leave. And set up in seconds into another conference room. So what your BI team should look like. So start to look at those core values. Every organization's core values will be slightly different. The examples I gave you are just examples. You want to find them for your own team, your own organization, and then literally in the future, if they don't have whatever your top like 5 are, don't hire them. It will just create conflict. If you learn nothing else, take that away. MacGyver to find the gold, right? How is this going to impact the company? How is it going to make or save money, and what are the risks? Find the things that give you quick wins, like my one client that had $1.2 million in 4 months. They were heroes, right? Agile and Scrum, read the books. If you have questions on it, feel free to call me and ask me. And know that you have to start to map out your continuous loop solutions. Start somewhere. Just get the activity going and say, okay, we're going to clean up our data and we're going to deliver, this dashboard. And later on, maybe we'll add some forecasting to it. Later on, we'll add some predictive. And those teams should start working together. Okay. Anything else you guys think you learned today that maybe I did not share? What did you think? Did you guys learn something?
Yeah, when I was paging through some of this stuff, I think maybe it was in your book, I saw the Darwin quote, and I think it was just such a common thread throughout your entire presentation, and that is that it's not like the smartest people that are gonna prosper, it's those who can handle change.
Absolutely. More so now. And every organization has the adverse to change people. If they're adverse to change, it's typically based in fear. So what question do you ask?
What are you afraid of?
What are you afraid of? I'm afraid I won't have a job. Well, let me tell you why you're going to have a better job. But if you don't ask the question, it will sit. And it's like fear is this horrible thing that literally grows like it's like a cancer. Because then it can grow, like if it grows in me, and then I'm talking to Zach, we're going to lose our jobs because they're using this new tool, right? And so what happens? Fear multiplies itself. So if you're not asking that one question, it's super powerful. I've had a lot of clients come back and they're like, oh my God, I asked that question. We had things we didn't even know were a problem. Anybody else? Okay, so I'm going to do a 0 to 10 on you again. What's your number? And actually, we'll just go with numbers. We'll start with you.
8.
8. Wow. Okay, we're just going to stop there because I feel like I won then. Excellent. Randy.
7.5.
Oh, nice.
I'll stay at 8.5.
8.5. Yes.
I'll go to 9.
Oh, look at you, an open
I
number.
learned some things, and
So every one of you can be a huge change agent, not just in your companies, but literally the world around you. Setting expectations. Teach your kids to set expectations. Like when you start to do this, life changes like that. You're like, gosh, I don't have those fights anymore. Honey, I'm going to be home late tonight. Try that one instead of just showing up late, right? Quick phone call is amazing. Gets you out of the doghouse. Well, I want to thank you guys for being all in. I know this was a whirlwind class. This is the first time we've kind of put this material together. Please, when you read the book, give me feedback. If I failed in an area and you think, hey, Heather, this section sucked, tell me. I can't fix it if I'm not told. Okay, as you'll see in the intro of the book, I say that my first language is numbers, so I wanted to write it in binary or hexadecimal, but my team wouldn't let me. So if you find a typo in it, just email me the page and something, because this was self-published. Basically, we went through and did it pretty quickly to get it out the door, but it was a labor of love. 25 years of failures, all put in one book. So excellent. If you guys I do have one more handout for you guys. Oops. If you guys are interested, so you may be going like, what's Lodestar, what's Heatherized? So Lodestar is our reselling arm for IBM Cognos, Cognos Analytics, SPSS. So if you guys are interested in learning more about the Cognos and IBM offerings, Zach back here is your man. And he can help you with anything you need to know about IBM. Heatherized is another one of our companies that is software agnostic. So they're obviously sister companies because we identified that some of the stuff that we taught you guys today, it doesn't matter what tool you're using. We want you to be successful, and actually most clients have multiple tools. So if you guys are interested in, having someone come and teach your teams on facilitation or even on the Bullseye framework that you learn at a high level in the book, reach out to us, let us know. We do workshops on site with clients. We do them sometimes publicly like this. Typically, these are actually paid engagements. This is co-sponsored by IBM. That's why you're here for free. And let us know. We're also trying to put together an executive analytical mastermind group. So that's in the formation now, where executives that want to be connected with other analytic leader executives in various industries, we will make sure that there are non-competitors in the same group. So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. And then finally, last but not least, if you have a moment while you guys eat, I do have a couple post-workshops. So you had a thing to fill out in pre. Some of your answers may be the same, some may change, but I like to collect data to see, kind of how things change maybe after the couple hours that we spent together.